Hello everybody, in today's video I'm going to talk about 10 things that you should stop doing when you are over 55 years old. My name is Dawn Dickinson. The channel is Living Your Best Life Over 55. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the 10 things. But I first want you to know that most of these things on the list are pertaining to both men and women. But the first two on my list are going to be specific to women only. So the first tip I have today is for women to stop wearing too much makeup when you're over 55 years old. A lot of times we get obsessed about trying to maintain that youthful appearance, but come on, people, know that you are older and you're going to get some wrinkles here and there. And sometimes when you cake on the foundation really thick, it actually kind of creases up in your wrinkles and makes you look a little bit older. Another thing I see women do is continue to have the really dark, shimmery eyeshadow. So dark eyeshadow, for one, really not necessary, especially when you're older. Maybe if you're going out at night, but the shimmery stuff definitely does not look good on a woman actually over, 45, 50 years old. Again, it's just might make you look a little bit cheap that way. And again, the thick, clustery mascara, the very thick mascara. I don't even wear mascara anymore. In fact, the only time I really wear makeup is if I am shooting a video or if I am meeting clients for the first time. Maybe if I had a date, which is very rare, if I'm going to a wedding or a social event, but typically I don't wear any makeup. And when I do, I try to keep it a little bit, thin. A thin layer of foundation, a little bit of blush, and some powder or some of that spray stuff. A lot of times I don't wear any eye makeup, especially today I got something weird going on with my eye, but in general, if I do, I just maybe have a light tan matte cover of eyeshadow, and that's about it. Because if you have too much makeup on over 55 and you're trying to look younger, a lot of times it just makes you look a little bit older than you are, or it makes it look like you're trying too hard or trying to compete with the younger girls. Women, we don't need to compete with the 20-year-old. We are wise and valuable at the age we are now, and stop trying to look like you're 30 years younger. Okay, the other two thing I see a lot of women my age do, and I don't understand it, is they're continuing, if they're single, continuing to look for men, continuing to go onto the dating sites to try to get dates, to try to talk to men online. Like, at some point, maybe it's okay being alone, being an independent woman. Is it really worth the bother of trying to constantly find someone new to go out with? You can go to a party by yourself. It's actually kind of enjoyable to spend the evening alone. I have been single for the last 10 years. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't go out on a date or I wouldn't be open to meeting a man and having a new relationship, but it's certainly not going to be taking up all my time and energy to try to find a new man or try to find my next boyfriend. If it happens, it happens, but I feel great being a single, independent woman, and I am not spending a whole bunch of energy looking for my next date or my next boyfriend. I think that's kind of a waste of time, and you can also end up getting ripped off if you are a financially independent woman, so you have to be very careful, and I recommend just not spending a lot of energy trying to find a new man or a new relationship or a new boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't care what your orientation is, but trying to find another romantic partner is what I'm saying. Probably wouldn't waste a whole lot of time and energy doing that. Okay, so number 3, I was guilty of this for a very long time, is to not work out, thinking, oh, I'm older people get sedentary and it's okay. But I was finding for a long time I wasn't working out, and my excuse was that I was working all the time. And it's true. It is hard to work out when you're working all the time, but it ends up kind of damaging to your health, and then you're less productive. Just recently I joined a health club, and I've been doing yoga, going swimming, and doing weights. I think weights is actually a very good exercise as you get older to keep your bones strong and your muscles strong, so that if you fall, you're not breaking a hip or an arm or something like that. So it doesn't mean you have to go out and run marathons or 10Ks, but I think it is important to get into an exercise routine that you are working out 3 to 5 days or more every week. Again, not too strenuous. Remember, we are getting older, but to keep some kind of physical activity going. Again, a little bit of weights, not a big heavy weight. I mean, I use the machines at the gym, but I don't put on a lot of weight. I just put on, not the very minimum, but, minimum to just a little bit of weight, and then I try to work myself up over time. So not working out, that is another mistake that people make when they're over 55. Okay, number 4 thing that you should stop doing as you get older is continuing those bad habits. I mean, when we were young, we could go out and go on a drinking binge, and we'd be vomiting, and then the next day hungover, and you'd get over it and it'd be okay. And doing things like smoking or drinking or binge eating on chocolate, that was always my vice, is chocolate and sweets, ice cream, sugary stuff. But continue with those bad habits. At some point, when you're young, it's bad for your health, but you think, I got 40 years left, it's not going to be that bad. But as you're aging, these things do catch up to you. Now, my mother has the late stages of dementia. She's in hospice. She can only speak 2 words at a time. I really think maybe the sugar addiction and the sedentary lifestyle has contributed to that dementia. And so to keep that from happening, or other illnesses from happening, you should break those habits, really long before 55. But by the time you're 55, if you're still drinking like a fish and smoking all the time, seriously think about quitting those bad habits. Okay, number 5 thing to just cut out is spending on things that you really don't need. And I'm talking about stuff like, do you really need that $350 Michael Kors purse? I mean, you could buy one at TJ Maxx for about $35. I usually don't spend more than $35 on a purse anyhow, but I do see some of my friends are like, ooh, this is a handbag. And I look at it and it's like, really is a very nice handbag. But is it 10 times nicer than the handbag I got at TJ Maxx for $35? I don't think so. Is it going to last you 10 times as long? If it did last you 10 times as long, you really want to be wearing the same bag for 10 times longer? I mean, seriously, wasting money on stuff that you don't need, it's probably a good thing to stop over 55. Which brings me to my next thing, is to stop buying things just to impress other people. And I'm going to give you an example of this. I am a real estate agent, and oftentimes they would say, oh, you really need a nice car if you're a real estate agent. That really makes people think you're successful, and they don't want to work with an agent who's not successful. So I, for a long time, had a very nice Mercedes-Benz. It actually was a good car. I liked it. It drove well, but here's the thing with an expensive foreign car that you use just to impress clients and think you're successful so they'll work with you, is if I would go to get an oil change, it's $200 to change an oil in a Mercedes. I mean, really, $200 for an oil change? Or if there was something wrong, last one, there was something wrong. I took it to the dealer a bunch of times. One time it cost me $4,000 to fix a few things, and it wasn't fixed. The thing that I was mostly concerned about wasn't fixed. They fixed a few other things. $4,000. If I would bring it into the dealer, it was $200 to run their diagnostic machine so they could see what was wrong. And then if they didn't see what was wrong, too bad. You're still paying the $200 for the diagnostic machine. So about a year ago, I traded in my Mercedes-Benz for a Honda CR-V, and it's been a great car. Everybody can work on it. Oil change is a reasonable price, and nobody cares. None of the clients have said, oh, you're only driving a Honda? To spend money on things to impress other people really is foolish, especially if you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get clients because I don't have a Mercedes or a BMW. That's silly. If you buy something that is a reasonable car and it's kept clean and in good shape, that's all you need. Don't need to spend extra money on stuff to impress. And also think of the same thing. My father used to say this too, like a Mercedes-Benz versus a Honda. If one car is like 10 times more in price, and it is better, but is it 10 times better? I don't know how much a new Mercedes. I have to say that Mercedes that I had was a good car, but I bought it used. I'm not going to spend, $65,000-$70,000 on a new car. But again, is it twice as good as a Honda? Say it's twice as much. Is it twice as good? Is it going to last you twice as long? Really just find something practical that you like and stop worrying about what other people think. So another thing not to do when you're older, over 55, is to be hoarding things. I myself tend to hold on to stuff that I don't need. I know, here's an example. I have to admit, I do have a weight problem. My weight fluctuates. Sometimes it fluctuates a lot. I'm probably like mid-weight right now. Like I'm a little plump, but I'm not super fat and certainly not at my ideal weight. But it used to be if I would gain a little bit of weight, I'd be like, no, I can't get rid of those jeans because I'm going to lose 10 pounds that'll fit into them. Forget that attitude. Stuff you're not wearing right now, just get rid of it. And if you lose the 10 pounds again or the 20 pounds, then just buy a new pair of pants, And things that I also had a problem like, oh, this was my kid's favorite toy, and I wouldn't get rid of it. Again, keep one or two of the treasures you might like, but don't keep tons of stuff that you're not using. And another thing is, like, I have a couple of very nice bicycles. I got a mountain bike, and I'm like, I'm 60 now. Am I going to start taking up riding my mountain bike again? I mean, I have to be careful. If I fall now, it's a lot more hard on my body than if I had fallen on a bike when I was 30. So maybe getting rid of the old mountain bike if you're not using it. And I do hate to part with it, but maybe I'll just give it to my daughter. So holding on to things that you're not using, cluttering up your house, making it hard to find stuff, just stop all of that and get rid of things that you're not using. If you do end up needing it in a year or two, then just buy another. But really, is it worth, say, the storage of holding on to stuff you don't need? Okay, number 8 is something I see my friends do when their pet dies. It is very hard when your pet died. Just a couple of months ago, I lost a beautiful young yellow Labrador Retriever. Actually, it wasn't mine. It was my family's, my kids. But I know how super tough it is when you lose a pet. So I've had some of my older friends especially say, when this pet dies, I'm not getting another one because I just can't handle how difficult it is when you lose a pet. And I'm thinking, so remember the old adage, better to have loved and lost to have never loved at all? I mean, all this time as you're older, you could be enjoying a pet. They make your life so much happier. They give you unconditional love, especially if you're living alone, right? So to say, oh, I'm not going to experience the joy of living with a pet because it's going to be hard when they die, that seems a little silly to me, especially since the pet could outlive you once you're over 55, right? But to say I'm no longer going to have a pet, especially since there's so many pets in shelters that need a home, they're going to be put down. To say that you're not going to get another pet when you lose one because it's too hard when they die just seems a little bit silly, and I recommend that you stop doing that. Okay, number 9 is something I know I've seen my parents' generation do, and I admit it's some easy habit to get into is when you want to do something with someone or you want to talk to somebody, you wait for them to reach out to you. And I think a good example is when I was younger, it seemed like the older generations, like my grandparents or my parents, they would wait for their children to call if you wanted to talk to your child. And I sometimes do that a little more than I want to because I'm busy working, and then I might not think to talk to my child until it's like 7-8 o'clock, and then I'm like, they're busy. But if you want to talk to your kid, call. They could always not answer the phone, or maybe say, I can only talk for 10 minutes, Mom. But if you really want to talk to your kid, call your child. Or if you've had a friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and the last time you saw it, you said, let's get together, don't wait for that friend to call you. You can call them. Let's call your friends that you want to go out with and say, hey, let's get together for lunch, or hey, do you want to come over and have a drink? Even though I just said you should cut out your drinking. It could be a Diet Coke, right? So if you want to do something with somebody, or even if you just like, oh, I feel like reconnecting with somebody, but I don't know who, maybe just go through your phone. Who haven't you had a conversation with in a while? Just you reach out to them first instead of waiting for them to contact you, because maybe they're at home a little bit lonely, wanting to talk to somebody too, and they're not sure what to do. So reach out first if you want to make a connection and you're feeling a little bit lonely. And the last thing on my list, number 10, is you need to stop worrying about what other people think of you, and to get rid of people in your lives that you're always worried about what you think, because you feel like you're not always good enough for them. I actually had this happen to me, not on purpose, but with one of my very close family members. I actually had a falling out. It was very difficult to let that person or that entire family completely sever the relationship, but after the years went by, I think, wow, how much better I feel when I'm not constantly worried if I'm walking on eggshells to not say something or do something that's going to upset that person and then create all sorts of drama. And then I'm always apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this ridiculously normal remark was going to offend you. So stop worrying about what people think. If you have a person that reacts negatively to your own personality, you shouldn't have to change your personality to make another person feel okay with you. So if you have relationships like this and you're worried, just let them go. You may not even have to do something to let them go. Just like stop calling them and just stop inviting them, and let that kind of simmer away. Because if you're always walking on eggshells, probably not meant to be relationship, and then you won't need to do much to sever it. You just kind of let it fade away on its own. Stop worrying about what people think of you. So that's it. That's my 10 things to stop doing over 55. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and the channel is Living Your Best Life Over 55. If you enjoyed the video, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. I post videos when I get an inspiration. I do have another channel, Living in Northern Arizona, if you're interested in Arizona real estate. But this channel, I try to do videos that help people in our generation, which would be Gen X and baby boomers, live their best life.